This session is going to be on the two products, Zoho RPA and Zoho Flow. So the agenda for this session particularly I'll just give a little bit on industrial revolution or the efficiency revolution, how things have happened, and I'll introduce the new product RPA. Very few people who knew about RPA, but I see a lot of people who already use Flow. Flow has been in existence. Give some use cases for when you can use Flow, when you can use RPA, and when to use the products. Because a lot of time we get confused as to which product, where we have to be using, and why we are introducing this product. So that's going to be the session today. And generally, when I do some technical presentations, I start with how the industry has evolved in the last 25 years. So how I started as a developer and how things were during that time to how we are doing development today, there is a lot of change. So I generally give that as an analogy. But when I didn't want to bring in any industrial revolution, I thought I'll do the efficiency revolution. With respect to automobile industry, if I have to take, this is how maybe 200 years ago, the car manufacturing, it had to happen. The cars were assembled by hand. The people have to go bring the different parts and then put together and assemble the car. So that was what was happening in the initial days. But with Ford's assembly line production, 1913 is what I think, maybe 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, when the assembly line was invented, people stay in the place and all the component parts came through the assembly line. And manually, they were doing the person was doing the same work again and again. And they were able to see a lot of efficiency improvement. They were able to make 100 times or more cars than what you used to do without it. But this was 100 years ago. Today, how do we do? Being in Austin, I just thought I could bring in this relevance. Tesla's Gigafactory, everything is automated because a person is standing there and doing things manually, the bot can do now. So now this sees again 100 times efficient cars production. So that is how the evolution has happened in efficiency. So if I have to equate this to how efficiency has evolved at office environment, it's a quick analogy of what we were doing as a manual paperwork with digitalization and digital transformation, everything converted to working in systems. But when you work in system also, a lot of it is still manual work. You have to do repetitive work sitting in front of the system, and that is what automation brings in. You have a bot do things for you. You can sit and relax and focus on other productive works. It's not that, as Tejas was saying, I'm afraid this is going to take away the jobs. It's not that kind. It is going to free up your time so that you can focus on more productive works, talking to customers, meeting them, the things where humans are required. So you can focus more on that. So that's what this efficiency revolution is all about. And when we want to talk about automation, what are the different applications, or if I have to put it like this, how many different applications do you work with on a daily basis? Maybe web applications, or it could be, the applications could be cloud or on-prem from the same vendor, from different vendor. It could be a legacy system, modern application. And depending on the user profile, you could be, if you are a developer, the kind of applications that you work with will be different from if you are a salesperson, if you are a marketing person. The type of applications that you work with will vary. But definitely, we work with more than one. So just show of hands, maybe five applications you work with. No, less than 5, more than 5. Average 5, 1. Yeah, somewhere 5, 10. I'm not even asking about the multiple tabs that you have on a browser system. I know the browser crashes. Okay, under the browser crash, we have that. I didn't ask that, but about the applications that we generally work. If you have to give an example as a developer, I may have to work with a project management tool. I may have to work with, if I also take part in another calls, I may have to do some notes making. As an individual, we can think of the different applications that we work with. And if I'm sure all of us were part of Sridhar's keynote in the morning, he was talking about how multiple different apps and siloed applications is causing problems and integrations are required. Even within the same vendor systems, we do try to integrate a lot. APIs help with a lot of those integrations, and that is what we do with across all these systems, you need to connect, integrate, and automate across apps. And that's what is done using Flow. Wherever you have APIs, you can connect these systems. And I'm sure there were a lot of Flow users. You must be using Flow already. And today what we are doing is, we are introducing another component called Zoho RPA. So I'll talk about what is RPA, why we are introducing that. RPA, as the word stands, it is robotic process automation. Robotic in the sense, anything that is, whatever you do, which can be trained by another bot to be done, that's called robotic. You don't have to do, a bot can do it for you. Process, you can't automate everything. It has to be steps, there has to be sequence of steps, and it has to be process driven. Only then you can automate that. If it's going to be changing every time, you can't do that as an automation. And automation is without manual intervention, it can run by itself. So that is what is robotic process automation. Any product that we do it internally. That's Zoho's policy, Zoho's philosophy as well. We make sure we do it internally at least for 1 or 2 years so that it is error-free, and then we can take it to the market. So that's how we have been doing this. We did, this is built on top of Flow, and we have been working on this product for past 3 to 4 years. And we released a beta maybe 6 months ago, and GA just last week we have released, and I'm doing a soft launch in front of you. So our team has done a video for the launch. I'll just go ahead and play that.
World is moving fast. Let's help you move faster. Meet your own digital assistant. Zoho RPA. Zoho RPA is robotic process automation software to create software bots that automate high-volume repetitive tasks. These bots interact with the UI of any application, just like humans, to automate processes in an auditable, error-free, and reliable manner. Run automation at a huge scale and multiply the productivity of your business processes with just one digital assistant. As you focus on scaling your core business, who's going to take care of your HR processes, lead enrichment, email ticket management, and more? Zoho RPA will. Automation meets design with Zoho RPA's intuitive user interface, ensuring ease of use and a frictionless experience. Automate outdated legacy applications on your Windows systems. Smoothly click, navigate, extract data, and fill in forms within seconds. Create, read, update, and delete Excel records hassle-free. Organize and effortlessly manage your data by creating folders and copying and moving files in folders. Zoho RPA caters to thousands of use cases: BFSI, IT, manufacturing, healthcare, and almost any other industry or department. We've got you and your business processes covered with efficiency, speed, and security. We don't want you to lose any time while you work. So Zoho RPA works right beside you.
Yes, that's a 2-minute video that the team has put together for this event for the launch of RPA. So it's basically to automate high volume, the bots that can automate high volume processes. So what can these things do? There are 4 things that it can majorly do. So those processes that are manual, if I have to give examples for manual processes, you may have to read the data, lead enrichment, invoice processing, or price code generation, where it's not just one software that you deal with, one application that you deal with, but you deal with multiple applications, do manual processes. Those can be automated. Those that are repetitive, you just have to keep doing on and on and on again. Employee onboarding is an example which Tejas also took. I will also go in detail in that later. So whenever employees travel, you have travel booking things to be done. So these are repetitive use cases. And rule-based, as I said, process. There are a list of processes that has to be followed. Loan processing, insurance claim processing. You need to check with a lot of credit scores. So those are all rules-based processes which can be automated using RPA. And processes that will require low exception rates, where you deal with a lot of numbers in your payroll processing or credit card processing. Even a small zero added or reduced will change the system. So you don't want any manual error there, but where you can bring in automation. So processes that require less error rate. So these are the different processes. It's manual, repetitive, rule-based, and processes with low exception rates that can be automated with RPA. So and I think we saw this in the video itself. It can cater to any industry. It's not that it is only for one industry and for only one persona. Any persona, any industry, we have hundreds of use cases which can be covered as an automated using RPA. So I'll quickly get into the use cases. I'll do two use cases, one with Zoho Flow and the other one with Zoho RPA. So Zoho Flow, I'm sure many people here are already Flow users, and maybe this might look very repetitive or very simple thing for you, but for the benefit of others, I'll just give a simple use case. You have a form where you get the entries or you get people fill in the form. So that is the trigger. When a new entry comes into the form, you can create it as a new lead in CRM. These are connected through APIs. So I'll just quickly walk you through how this is done. So this will also give a glimpse of what is available in Zoho Flow as a product. So you just have to go create a flow. And once you create a flow and with a flow name and get into the product, you have multiple trigger options. You can either schedule it, you can either do an app trigger. And within an app trigger, we have covered almost 900 plus integrations. So you can choose. Now this is from forms to CRM. So you can say what is the trigger for the form. So when a form is filled, first thing you need to do is create connections with your credentials so that your account is being used for creating that connection with that particular app. Now once the flow form is filled, what you want to do is add that as an entry into CRM, because you may not be able to expose your CRM account everywhere, but you can have a form. Maybe you are attending an event, or you can have a demo form in your website, and you get all the user details. But after you get the details, you want to filter that and put it into your CRM. This is through API connections. If you want to do that, all the data that is collected in the previous step will be available for you as variables in the next step. Since it's dynamic, this is not a static form filling. So dynamically, you can just set those as variables. And once you set only the relevant variables that you want to select. So that's what is happening here. It is just checking the name and phone number details that is required. And once you switch on the flow, whenever a form is filled, the thing will be triggered. The app will be, flow action will be triggered. And then you can see that it is getting added directly into the system. In the history, you can see the data that is being collected. This is done automatically. So once a form is filled, it is done automatically into the CRM folder. So this is just one example. There are hundreds and thousands of examples for API connections itself, what we want to do. Now moving on to the employee onboarding use case that they just started with. So I'm just going to give you the explanation of what are all the things that are being done here, the process that is happening here. So once we still deal with a lot of Excel files. So maybe when the employee names are all there in the Excel file and you drag and drop and put it into that's a folder action that is being generated. Once you do that, typically an employee onboarding, you may have to go create a mail. You may have to go add it into a people software. Those are all cloud actions. And then what you need to do is you need to go create account in Active Directory. And you also need to raise a ticket for assets where the machine request needs to be done. So these are, and then update the Excel file with the process system. So this is typical workflow that involves all these components of from desktop trigger to Excel automation to cloud app action automation, Windows, web. You deal with a lot of all these interconnected systems that is actually that you can automate using RPA. So this is actually recorder in progress. This is built on top of Flow, so it looks similar to Flow, but the actions will be different. We have recorders that can take care of recording all the things. So you create an event and say that when a file or folder is created, that's the trigger for the workflow. Any workflow, be it Flow or RPA, needs a trigger. So once you say that you have a trigger when a file is created, start the workflow. So that's going to be the trigger. Once you do the trigger, we'll have to open the file. There will be an Excel file where you have multiple records where you go and add it. So you have to read from that file. Here again, every action will have a lot of configurations within it, which I'm not going into details. You can create a new file. The file exists, file does not exist. File is a write protected one. All that write protected, read protected. So all those information, all those configurations are available inside. But then you go and create a recorder, or is it open in Excel? And the other part is for web and Windows, we have a powerful recorder. So you don't have to drag and drop, but you just have to record these actions. This is recording in progress. So we are recording a Windows application action where this Active Directory application, you're going and creating the user account within the Active Directory. So once you do that, whatever you do here, whatever steps that you're configuring here, all these will be converted into actions in the workflow. You can see that now. Now we are creating creating a user. Now you see that it's all converted into actions. You don't have to even drag and drop. So this is all converted at actions, and you can, the whatever value is there available in the previous step, you can use that and configure the workflow. So it's a dynamic workflow. It's not a static one. Similarly for Windows application, Windows automation also. Web automation also. Web automation also, we have a recorder which is based on Selenium. So that will go, it's all click, whatever you do in the web console. Now here we are going and creating an asset request. Whenever an employee is onboarded, you need to create an asset request to the sysadmin team so they can assign a machine and whatever the software you are asking them to install, all this you do. Now these are all the steps that are being recorded. And in recording also there will be other actions. You can click, you can hover, you can read a variable. All that will be converted into steps. Now these are all the things that are recorded. Now the next one is the bot and action. So this, I'm not doing anything. It is just when a file is dragged and dropped, this is the Excel file. It will go read from that file. It will mark once the action is done. The email account creation and adding user to the people's software are all done using cloud actions, APA actions, which are done in the backend. And then these steps, which we did as part of Windows automation and web automation, these are again done automatically using the software. So once you set this in place, it's simple. So the initial part is the configuration part, because these are all the repetitive tasks which you need to be doing whenever an employee is onboarded. Once you set the bot in place, whenever a trigger happens, then it will automatically be converted into steps. So these are some things, this is possible using RPA. Now it is completed and it is updated as done. So these are the two different use cases. I'm sure the benefits, I don't need to go in detail. It increases your productivity, saves time and saves money. And of course, it's for compliance security reasons, it's important. The next part is, when do you use Flow? When do you use RPA? Because we get people confused as to when you have API. When you are using cloud apps, use Flow. There have been cases where people say, I want to automate everything using UI. No. Don't go do a roundabout way. When there are APIs available and when you have cloud apps, use Flow. And use RPA when you have to deal with even legacy systems where you don't have APIs. And it's a crisscross of combination of your legacy and your web applications you're dealing with. Like the example I talked about, use RPA. So these two products are the apps for complement for each other. It's not a competing one. They complement each other. They are built on the same platform, underlying platform. Easy drag and drop is available. And you have powerful elements, decision branches, time delays, variable settings or notifications, error branching. All these are available because the underlying platform is the same. The Flow platform is the same. And you can manage your history. You can do undo, redo options, the draft options, and the security compliance options of encryption at rest, audit trails of what is being happening. So all these are common for both the platforms. So that's available. This is the last segment. I'll just finish it in 2 minutes. He gave me a timeout earlier. Okay. So I'm sure if, many people have been, why we are doing RPA now? Because RPA as a segment, if you take, it has been there in the industry for 18 years. If you say, take the competition in this, it's almost 18 years, the market is mature one. Possibly, like how Sridhar mentioned in the morning, we do a lot of things differently. Okay, we felt this is already Flow is there. We need this. A lot of people have been asking, let's get into doing RPA. And the other important thing which when we were doing figured out is Microsoft Windows OS market share as of February 2024 is still 68%. So there is Windows applications which needs interconnection with web applications, and this automation is required. Similarly, the Excel usage, if we have to take, the number of users who are using Excel across the different jobs, be it research or HR or consulting, it's all in millions. And similarly, the percentage of Excel usage across these, 30% of their daily usage, but still people are using Excel. And overall, as of 2023, it is total Excel users are 1.1 to 1.5 billion. I'm not even talking about million. So when Microsoft OS and Excel has so much usage, we have a lot of scope for automation. There is extensive opportunities which we don't want to miss. And I've seen, we have interacted with a few partners who have been saying that we use Zoho's products for all the other functionalities. We use them for CRM, we use them for Flow, we use them for people management, collaboration. But for RPA, there is still RPA use case. But for RPA, we have to go with another vendor. So which I think maybe we do have more features to catch up. But with what we have today, we felt this is good enough for us to release now so that we'll get started into the market because there is so much potential to fill this automation gap is what we are releasing RPA now. Thank you so much for your time.